Rock Raiders, a sci-fi theme that focuses on a group of space explorers who got lost on their way home and are forced to tunnel into a foreign planet to harvest power cells or brechonium to refuel their ship. Kind of like Lost in Space, but without the space. So just lost in. Fortunately, our confused but brave travelers are perfectly equipped for such a task, with all the necessary equipment to dig dug into rock with such vehicles as massive construction trucks, heavy air transports, and a sled. Probably more useful if they had gotten stranded on the ice planet, but no matter. There weren't many sets released during the limited time they were out, but the coloring and style are very recognizable to anyone who's had even one of the original sets. It might also be the shortest run theme to have such an expansive lore, including books, one of which is written by comic book artist Alan Grant, comics, a video game, a mug, and the Raiders vehicles range in quality from really cool to Kabaya, so let's dig in. Starting off at number 14, we are immediately greeted by the curse of the Kabaya promotions. Being familiar with these tiny, unthought-out candy store kids' meals toys, we know what to expect, which is not much. For instance, here we have Helicopter Transport. Although it's nice to see these sets are all graced with actual flight controls, unlike the Adventurers Kabaya sets, this transport isn't transporting anything. There isn't even enough room for the pilot, since as soon as Dox turns on the motor, the low, unprotected propeller will lop off his Confederate cap-wearing head. They did include some cool pieces in these sets, which made them very difficult to put together for this video since they are fairly rare pieces by now, but they don't have much going for them in the logic department. Next is Jet's Light Hover. This one actually has the means to transport some tools, but I guess they didn't want to miss out on an opportunity for a double meaning name. It's perfect. Light because it's lightweight and it has a lot of lights. That being said, it has no visible engine bay or even some kind of ski on the bottom. It looks more like one of those gyrating cartoon rides in front of department stores or in the mall. I guess Rock Raiders needed some kind of fun in their off time. I've definitely seen Drillcraft on Robot Wars. With no wheels or skis, I imagine this thing zips around in the air, and with only two chainsaws sticking out in front, what could possibly go wrong? It's driven by Sparks, which is notable because it's the only vehicle he drives, at least according to the sets. Chain Dozer is definitely a horror movie waiting to happen. Imagine that vehicle existing in the Maximum Overdrive universe. That movie would have been a whole lot shorter, and the humans and machines would have both lost to Chain Dozer. The only figure man enough to control this beast is Bandit. After looking at all these Kabaya sets between the Rock Raiders ones and the ones from the Adventurers lists, I looked up the company and was surprised to find them still in business. They are a Japanese snack company, and I was actually able to find some of their chocolates on Amazon. They arrived in an uninsulated bag on a hot day and cooked inside of a metal mailbox for a few hours before I took them inside and refrigerated them, but here they are.
Expiration date is 2023, 10 for October, I guess. NR for not rated. Because if you eat it and die, that's on you. Oh my. Okay, that's I guess about what I expected. I don't really want to eat this. Here we go. It's really good. It's like shortbread with chocolate, as you can kind of see from the cover. 2 servings per container, but since I'm an American, I'm going to make it 1 serving.
Moving on from the Kabaya cross brands but remaining in Kabaya quality is this little hover thing from the Rock Raiders HQ. It seems to have no purpose but to zip around with high visibility decals. Maybe it's like a learner's hover car? It certainly fits nicely into this little docking station, so we'll just leave it there for aesthetics. Next we have this little hover thing. It's got a light. I definitely like the Kabaya sets more than this. I think it tricked me into a higher ranking by coming with the tunnel transport. It has a cool printed plate, but aside from that, there isn't much going for it. Back to the 14 with you. Flying in next is Hover Scout. There isn't much to this set, and this might be nostalgic John talking, but I've always loved the front and rear lights and the slope pieces that pretend to make the set aerodynamic. They don't, between the flight controls and jet both being twice the height of them, but the idea is appreciated. Next is another little barnacle on the tunnel transport. And while there is a picture of Doc sitting in it, they clearly built this without OSHA's consent with its chainsaw armrests. It does have a cool working dumper and a little magnet to attach to the mothership, probably because no one was brave enough to actually drive it from place to place. The colors are great. I love the dark turquoise snot brakes, and the yellow accent is just right. I think this would work better as a drone of some sort. Something to drop in and get started on a dig so the crew can come in later with some room to set up a base. Sliding in at number 6 is one of my childhood favorites, Rapid Rider, piloted by a very cool looking minifig, Bandit. Side note on Bandit, it's impressive how they give him such a chiseled chin and epic beard without any separate accessories. Back to the vehicle, it might be the least practical vehicle they have. The name implies it was made for rapid waters, but there isn't anything else in the Rock Raiders theme to deal with water.
Oh, and this drill craft is a watercraft.
The box shows it half on rock and half on a trickle of a stream, so there you have that. My younger self never picked up on that, probably because I immediately threw away the box and lost the comic book, so I was always confused as to why there were skis on a vehicle that was presumably meant for uneven rocky terrain. I still loved all the pieces though, the boulder, the trans neon crystal, the skis, the cool printed pieces, the new accessories like the buzz on the binoculars, and of course the man himself. In the Rock Raiders HQ set, we got a truck combining the best parts of Rapid Rider and the magnetized chainsaw car from the Tunnel Transport. Another great combination of colors, the yellows and dark turks perfectly complementing the blacks and grays. It uses the same modified plate chassis that managed to work its way into almost every single Rock Raiders set, helping with the distinct look of this theme. Fourth place is Granite Grinder. Piloted by Axel, this set truly is an eye-catcher. The first noticeable thing is the shiny chrome drill, which only appeared in one other set, but there are a few other things that make this set stand out. The big turbo engines on the back add a nice splash of everyone's favorite Rock Raiders accent color. The zero ground clearance waddling function was familiar from some of the old space sets. Not very realistic for traveling over uneven rocky terrain, but this was before LEGO was putting out high quantities of new molds so they could get every detail of a set down to the point where no imagination is required. So this walking mechanism was perfect. This particular set also has some interesting concept art that shows us some alternate colors and design techniques, but I think we got the best version. No construction site is complete without a bulldozer, and this one can move all kinds of rock balls. Operated by Axel, who is apparently the only Rock Raider with his large commercial vehicle license. A perfect blend of sci-fi and tax dollars at work, this minimal, large set really stands out with the giant shovel on the front. The monochromatic color scheme is offset by not only the usual dark turquoise and yellow this time, but also a somewhat random red choice in the back. I didn't think anything of this as a youth, because back then I was content enough to just enjoy toys without scrutinizing every detail. So in honor of young John, I will move on without further addressing it. Second place goes to this flying behemoth, which is a couple barrage missiles away from a UNSC Vulture from the Halo universe. Of course, maybe it is the same universe. The LMS Explorer, the Pillar of Autumn. Anyway, I got this set recently, thank you Joe from Boyertown Brickworks. It was pre-built, so I missed out on building it myself. Actually, one second. Okay, so this is one of those sets that looks a lot cooler in person, which is why I never got it till now. There are no handles or awkward designs built in to pick it up with, but it feels very natural to lift from the center, and it is also perfectly balanced and satisfying when doing so. The box shows Doc's at the controls, but he's hanging his head out as if he's in a panic, and the thing actually looks like it's about to crash and take everything off the cliff with it. Jet is escaping and taking a large piece of space dynamite with her, which is kind of sus. But overall, awesome set. There's a magnet in the center that holds either the large bed or the chainsaw dumper thing, and the back has a compartment for the little escape pod. First place goes to Chrome Crusher, piloted by Axel, of course. The cool thing about this one is that it actually shoots real bullets. Just kidding. But it does light up if you hit this button, when it has batteries. Yikes, I'm striking out on this number 1. Looking at the concept art, it was originally going to be one big drill, and the name was Chrome Crusher, although that might have just been a typo. LEGO's QA isn't always perfect. Later concept art shows that the Crusher appears to be an amalgam of two large vehicles, one focused on drilling and one focused on blowing the stones off of anything that dared to approach the miners at work. LEGO really took all the best parts of the other sets and built this. It's got the Granite Grinder's drill, the Tunnel Transport's bed, the Loader Dozer's wheels, and the HQ's laser gun. Not to mention all the other signature Rock Raider staples like those cool lantern headlights, a brown chain with no purpose, a chrome engine, lots of tool storage, and almost every printed piece that came out for the theme. Just ignore the fact that the drill goes about 1 inch beyond the cockpit. Honorable mention goes to the teleport pad at HQ. Not really a vehicle, but it does the same job. Rock Raiders, you had a short but very full life. Hopefully in this age of remakes and reimagines, we will see a full Rock Raider set again soon, but until then, we will hoard the original sets and build our own new ones. Seriously, just Google Rock Raiders mock. Some of these are insane. Rock and roll Raiders.